able to resolve, and we may not be able to. So I want to engage you all with uh, alternative options and solutions. I love the prospect that we always have options. We always have options. So tell us about your book, Mr. Shep, and what you have found as unique alternatives to some of your challenges. Please start.
Let me introduce myself in the briefest possible fashion. I'm an 82-year-old retired entrepreneur with married with 4 children and 7 grandchildren, and I live on a farm in Maryland. Okay. So I think the first thing to say is, how did I come to write this book? What made me even do it? I'm not setting out to be an author. I don't have any desire to publish a bunch of books. I have an idea that I want to put out there that I think could be helpful. And the origin of that is this, that even from the time I was a very young child, I felt there was something wrong with the world around me, that what I was excited about and what I thought was valuable was not being valued by the society around me, and that I felt the need to conform to the expectations of society rather than to what I really was excited about. So as I grew up, became a teenager, went to college, I began to explore what this is all about for me. If I'm not fitting in with what the culture is and what the people around me are saying, what's the deal here? So when I got to college, I majored in philosophy. And what I found about philosophy was that it was more intellectual popcorn. I couldn't relate to the professors who seemed to be very remote and standoff, and I couldn't connect with the way I felt inside. So I went to school, I became a lawyer, and I really followed the path that had been set out for me. You know, the lawyers, live in big houses, drive nice cars, all that stuff. But I couldn't give up on this. And I began to search. And what I did was to pursue every spiritual discipline, whether it's Buddhism or Christianity or therapy or drugs or whatever. It's finding the lost thing. I knew from my experience that there were times that were transcendent when I would break through and, the world would be beautiful, but it was so fleeting. And so this search went on and on, through Zen meditation, through Joseph Campbell, through, all kinds of stuff. And finally, I had an idea. And the idea was not based on anything I'd read in a book. It was based on my own experience. And that is that my brain is ill-suited to the life I want to live. And when I say it's ill-suited, I don't mean that my heart isn't beating properly, that I can't put one foot in front of the other. I mean, it was constantly doing things I didn't want it to do. So I decided to look into that. What is this damn glob of gray stuff in your head? What's good about it and what's not good about it? So I educated myself about not just neuroscience, which is a very small part of it, but the similarity to computers and also to evolution. What was this thing designed to do that we've inherited from our primitive ancestors? And finally, I arrived at something that really struck me, which is that I've got a machine in my head that I've got to manage just like I manage a washing machine. I can't rely on it to run my life. I've got to tell the machine what to do, not have it tell me what it wants to do. Because after all, if you think about brains and even our primitive humans, the brain was really designed to run your life. I mean, that's the way adaptations work in evolution. You know, you pick up a characteristic that aids survival and reproduction in a particular situation, and that becomes programmed in. And I realized that I had gotten so programmed in that I had lost touch with my best self. So I'd like to just maybe give you a couple of tidbits from the book just to suggest the nature of it.
What is the title? What is the title of your book, sir?
It's a life's work learning to overrule my mindless brain.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So we always think about learning and education as gaining some information that will be helpful to you. What I'm talking about here is not gaining information. It's not even gaining knowledge. It's getting rid of something. And what I'm getting rid of is this constant noise in my brain that is judging, speculating, fearing, distracting me from what is right in front of me. And this isn't just the Zen concept of monkey brain, you know, that your brain's just going all over the place. It's that it takes me down dark alleys and not good places. And even though I may feel that, well, I don't want to think that, so I won't think it anymore, it just circles back and comes back. And I don't think my experience is unusual. I watch other people way too carefully to see how haunted most people are, not just by distractions, but by unnecessary judgments, unnecessary fears, unnecessary jealousies. And I don't want it to do that.
You know, Robert and I are filmmakers, and you are a perfect film. You're a
Well
script.
said.
You
Well
are
said, Michael.
you're a script waiting to happen, except with the
Yeah.
writer's strike. Of course, we can't write it, but you're perfect.
Right. I was just thinking that. I was thinking that I wanted to take this opportunity to use the energy in the room to culminate the focus of the strikes, the writer's strikes and the actor's strikes, and what that represents and means, and perhaps all this energy and intellectual capacity. You know, perhaps we can find the chasm and the unique ability to overcome these challenges. Now, as Shep puts it, the mind it gets in the way, but the mind is designed, I believe, to help us solve problems and to solve the problems that we have to solve. Now, some problems you can let ride by and thinking they'll go away, but some problems you're gonna have to solve. They're not gonna solve themselves. And so, I mean, and the engagement of the right people can offer real solutions. Real solutions. So I'm taking this belief perspective that I mean, you know, Shep, you've solved enough problems. You solved your share of problems. You're 82 years old. You had to solve a few of them. You know, I mean, you've gotten to this age. Many people thinking in mind that the brain is the capacity that keeps you breathing. You know, the brain keeps you breathing. You know, keeps you breathing and keeps you digesting food. And
Maybe
so,
you should let me talk about the book.
well, maybe, but I do want us to take a minute and engage some solutions, if you will. So, if you can, close the book discussion with items about how we solve some problems. There you go. It's all yours, unless you have questions.
Well, one of the things you mentioned when you start talking about problems is, and one of the things that I've realized and work with is, my brain is just as willing to create problems as it is to solve them. In fact, I think it's a hell of a lot better at creating them than it is solving them. And that, and I'll get into this a little bit more about the analogy of a computer. The way I've decided that you need to treat this thing is like a laptop. Now, you don't use a laptop for everything. You use it for what it's good for, and then you don't use it. But our brain is always there. It's always insisting. It's always probing. And there you are with your eyelids taped open in front of a computer monitor that's just running all this crap. And that is the human condition. And I don't think it has to be that way. I think there's a way to approach this that can at least mitigate a lot of this distraction and negativity that we really don't want. And if we had time to think about it, we wouldn't do. So part of this is spiritual. You know, we talk about happiness, whether it's enlightenment or whatever you want to say, you know, just this basic feeling of rightness and peace. But there's another part to this brain thing, and that's the practical part. We think of our brains as so sophisticated, so powerful, so wonderful. But in many ways, they're a train wreck. I'll give you an example. Procrastination. Why in the hell is it that I know that exercise is going to be good for me, that stretching is going to be good for me, and I have to battle myself to do it? Why is it that when I have a confrontation with my wife, I know to just settle down, speak my truth? No, I act like an asshole. The brain is a very imperfect device. You got to remember what it was designed for. It was designed to enable survival until reproduction. It was a very ruthless dog eat dog thing. And this is not so much about the programming of the thing, it's the nature of the thing. It's an on off, can I get this? Can I not get this? And when do I have to go to the fight or flight thing, which certainly my brain is perfectly willing to go to. So it's not just a spiritual idea, it's a practical idea. And of course, the basis of it is this, that each of us, independent of our background, our culture, or even the brain we're handed, all of us have an innate sense of what is good and right. And I explore this at some length in the book, why I think that is so obvious and how it gets confused in all the intellectual meandering. But if you can call on that part of yourself, and the way I express it in the book is, and what I try to do in my life now, is in every moment, is to say, who do I want to be right now? Not what am I going to get, not who am I trying to impress. So right now, okay, right now, what do I want? Well, I want to sell books. I want to impress you with how smart I am. I want to look cool. No. The first thing is, I want you to be glad that you were here today, that you heard me. From that, you go on to, sure, I want to sell books. Sure, I want to propagate this idea. But that approach to moment existence gives you a foundation that I don't believe you can get any other way, because your brain is so quick. I mean, I can think about something somebody did 20 years ago, and my brain will jump in and get pissed off at them. Well, once that starts, I'm off on that. I'm, okay, yeah, they did this, I did that, and so on and so forth. So this is very immediate. This is catching your brain before it gets away from you. It's like you're riding a horse that's just totally skittish and keeps taking off. You got to rein the thing in and say, what's important right now? Who am I at my best? So this is really about managing the manager. Our brain manages everything: heartbeat, respiration, can't talk without doing it, everything. It manages your body and it can manage your life. And the trick is to let it manage the things that it's good at managing and not let it rule your life.
All right.
So I could make this sound like I found nirvana. I certainly haven't. But what I can tell you is my life is a lot better than it used to be. using this kind of focus on my moment-to-moment life. And some things I can do better than others. For example, I never say anything negative anymore, just about never. You know, I don't care what the situation is. I don't care if it's Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin or whoever it is. I don't say negative things. That's a huge benefit. And the reason it is because that energy, that negative energy is contagious. And so I'm not just doing it to protect myself, I'm doing it to protect the people around me. My mother used to say, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. I thought that was the silliest thing in the world. I don't think so anymore. Let me look at my cheat sheet.
All right, while you're doing that,
Questions.
Shep, let's suppose any questions and get the energy.
How much time have we used?
How about you?
Almost used my 20 minutes.
Yeah, you almost
Yeah,
used
go
it.
ahead.
Okay.
Go.
So what I want to take this moment, I want to engage the energy in the room, people in the room, what your thinkings are, and I mean, I'm consumed by I'm consumed by the energy, and I want everybody to take an action with that. Mark, what do you have to say? Tell us.
With all due respect to
Shep.
Shep, my problem with his utopian view of things is that if bad behavior goes unchallenged, it encourages bad behavior. And saying nothing or looking for the best in people, for me, is not always the best solution. I wonder what Shep's attitude is toward silence, for instance, acquiescence to bad speech or bad behavior leads to.
Okay, well, that's a good question. I'll let Shep answer that. I'd like for us to really get behind, we're people. And when you see a bad action, do you intercede? Do you interfere? Do you, avoid? I mean, and when I mean that, okay, if you can do something to fix a condition, do you fix it?
Are you asking
Shep.
me?
I'm asking everybody,
Shep,
but
please.
Shep is the speaker, and I'd like for him to answer that with his answer to you, too. Does that make any sense?
The answer to your question is, it's not that you don't react. It's not that you don't have your own truth. It's what is really persuasive. The first reaction when somebody acts badly is to confront and challenge them. But all you really have to do is say what is appropriate, and the energy that you give off is incredibly important. I'm not saying there aren't times when you have to act decisively. There are times when you have to kill people. You know, wartime, people attack you, so on. But in any kind of situation where you would like it to be better, I think the person that gives off a positive energy that doesn't give in to the drama and all of that business. Because when you challenge someone who's acting badly, more likely what you're doing is you're just setting them in a firmer position.
Okay, I got it. Any responses? Any other responses out there? I got to hear from Carolita Coley.
I find that more people buy ebooks than audiobooks.
Okay.
I promote my ebooks more than audiobooks, though, too. So that's not necessarily a scientific answer.
No, it's realistic.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go back to Shep for a little bit, and I think I gave everyone a chance to speak. Delanda, I'm going to bring you in a little later. So Shep, if you'd like to give us your final points, and then I'm actually going to nominate Shep's book, and then each of you, if you want to enter our Brightside Empirical Review Awards, I'll tell you a little bit about it in a few minutes, but over to you, Shep, and if you can wrap this segment up, and then I'll bring in the nomination for your book.
Well, I'll just say this. I think if there is a single takeaway from my book, it's that happiness is not situational. I've been around the wealthiest, most educated people in the world, and I've been around down and out blue collar people. And damn, if I can tell that any situation necessarily leads to happiness, that it's what you bring to the situation that matters. And it's so easy to forget that because your brain is always saying, if only I had this, if only this person was different. And that's not what it's about.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you're watching Brightside Global Trade. And if you want to get any of these books, we'll make sure it's available in the comment section as well as on our website. And please write us a comment because we'd love to hear from you while you watch this. Thank you for watching.